What's up, guys? So we are back with another story. This one's interesting. A St. Louis judge disqualifies Gardner and her office from prosecuting the McCloskey gun waving case. Now, for those of you who know, who have been following this, then you also know that the state in which this took place was not only a stand your ground state, but also a castle doctrine state, right? So I'm sorry, but this should never have been prosecuted in the first place. But if it was, it shouldn't be by a politically motivated judge, because I think we all thought that that's what was happening, was they were trying to make an example of them. It was politically motivated, and now a judge has disqualified them for reasons I will get to in a moment. But before I get to that, we're going to go ahead and go over what exactly happened, and kind of do a little review before we get to why they were disqualified. But first, if you guys like my videos, go ahead and like and subscribe. Share my videos, please, because that is how I get my videos out to everyone, is by you guys sharing my videos. And then hit that notification bell so you guys are notified whenever I come out with a new video. Alright, so let's go back in time to when this happened, okay? So, essentially, way back when, uh, a Missouri lawyer seen with his wife brandishing a gun at protesters outside their home. No. They were not protesters. They were rioters. I'm sorry. You can't sit there and say, oh, they were peaceful, when they basically broke into this person's property. Okay? Uh, Claims they grabbed the weapons after being told they would be killed and placed in fear of their lives. McCloskey and his wife had an AR-15 and a handgun, and they were, pointing it around. And quite honestly, I agree, they didn't have the best, trigger discipline. They didn't point it in the right directions at all times. But I'm sorry, but they were defending their home. I'm sorry, a huge crowd busts into my private property and goes and they're yelling and screaming, and they had already, the night before, protesters had burned down parts of the city and vandalized and all that stuff. I'm not going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm sorry. But to those of you who have seen some of the pictures, the one picture that wasn't seen a whole lot was the aerial view of their house, because uh, they wanted to portray it like, oh, they were just on the street outside their house, and the McCloskeys had no valid reason to be pointing weapons at them because they were on the street in front of their house. But that's not true, and I'll show you in a moment, right? So if we go down um, to this picture, now this is the iron gate that is outside of their or it's on the gate that's on the border of their property to the street. Now everybody thinks that for some reason that the protesters were out here on this street. That is not the case. They busted in and came over here. And if you look at these pictures right here, if you just get the pictures from right here and you look at them, you could probably be like, oh yeah, no, they were just on the street in front of the house, and they had no reason to be pointing guns at them. But here's the thing, okay? People were shouting at them. Mr. McCloskey here said he was just sitting there on his patio eating dinner, and then this big group comes, crashing through his property, and then they're chanting and shouting and being loud and throwing insults and throwing threats. And I'm sorry, but yeah, no, they're on his private property. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Let me see if I can find the picture. So right here is where they're entering. And you can see right here, he was on his patio and he went and got his gun because he was eating dinner over here. And he gets on his patio, and this is where apparently the verbal, talking took place, where they're shouting at threats at him, he's shouting back at them to get off his property, and then he goes over to the front, right? This is the iron gate that we don't know if it was broken when they entered or broken on the way out. I assume it was broken on the way out because there's a lot of evidence that the gate wasn't locked. But that doesn't give you permission to just walk in. It's like, dude, if my apartment front door is just unlocked, you can't just walk in to my apartment. Same principle here. I think they probably destroyed it because they were mad that they were getting pointed at with guns. But I mean, that's your own fault. So, but let's see if I can find it. Now, this right here, I don't know about you, but right here, she's close enough that she can see what this is right here. But he might not be close. I mean, he wears glasses too, so, he's kind of blind. So him from this distance might think that this might have been a weapon. Because he said in his interview that he saw people with weapons and that he was threatened by people. Now, quite honestly, it doesn't matter. You're on their property. I'd be pointing a gun at you too, probably. I'm sorry. It's just a fact, right? Now, here is the very, very important picture that shows you exactly why they were on private property and not on public property. Well, first of all, this road right here is not public either. The entire neighborhood is private. So they already had to bust through, I believe, one gate to get down this private road. But in addition to that, the gate from the picture before that was open that they walked through is right here. It's inlaid, and I believe they also destroyed this gate here, and that was what this chain link fence here, I believe, is what they put up because they destroyed here and this gate here. Now, what you're looking at is this was the patio he was eating dinner on. They were marching down this private street on a private drive, which I guess you could say if they had access to this street and they didn't know that it was a private street. I mean, there were signs posted everywhere, but just for the sake of argument, okay? Even if it was a public street, this completely surrounded, gated, walled off private property is clearly private. So, to all you people who are like, oh, they were just standing in front of their house. No, 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 no. It was on they were on private property, but the protesters, they were on the public property. No, you're fucking wrong. Shut up. This right here, this gate was busted. This gate was busted. They both entered onto private dirt road here, or at least it looks like a dirt road. Went all the way up to here, which is clearly in the private property. Okay, clearly. And there was like a couple hundred people here. Mr. McCloskey was sitting right here eating dinner. People start streaming through this gate. He doesn't know who they are, doesn't know where they're coming from or why they're there, but he has a pretty good idea because the city was burned down the night before. And not even a couple hours before, there were reports of them vandalizing other people's houses. So he runs inside, gets his rifle, his wife gets it, he comes back out here, starts shouting at people back and forth between here and there, and then he goes, you know what? I need to get out in front of the entryway to my house because this looks like a wall or a hedge that separates this part from here. So he goes over here and stands right here, and he's basically holding back a tide of people. And then eventually they get angry and leave because they're being pointed at with rifles, and rightfully so. And then they go back, bust this gate out, bust this gate out. So now they've entered a private drive here illegally, entered private property. Whether or not the gate was unlocked or not doesn't matter. You don't have a right to just go on people's property. So now they're trespassing, then double trespassing, and then they commit destruction of property. And I'm willing to bet it's felony destruction of property. I don't know exactly how much these wrought iron gates cost, but I'm willing to bet with the size and make of this house, a lot of money. So that is, and the state where this takes place, I'm sorry, they have stand your ground laws, which means you have no duty to retreat in public. In public, you have no duty to retreat. And the castle doctrine, which means you get to defend your home, your private property, with deadly force, no questions asked, because you have no idea what their intentions are on your property. Now, the reason I believe that they didn't shoot was because they didn't get into the home, right? Because the castle doctrine really more applies to, like, if you're in your home. You can't really shoot somebody who's outside your home or whatever, but they come in your home. Now, what they did, and they brandished the firearms, great. They didn't shoot anybody. I don't care that they pointed it, because it's a compliance. It's a way to gain compliance. And quite honestly, you need to have the firearm ready if a tide of people decides to charge you. Sorry, it's just that. And guess what? Nothing happened. They didn't shoot anybody. Nobody got hurt. I mean, their feelings got hurt, but who cares about that? These people are already upset. Feelings are hurt already. So their feelings got hurt, and then they commit destruction of property. I'm sorry, but as far as I know, none of the protesters none of the rioters that were involved in this, destruction of property, trespassing, all that stuff, were arrested. To the best of my knowledge, the only people who were charged with anything were the people rightfully defending their property. And people tried to portray it like, oh, they were just on the street, so that's why they were being charged, because the rioters were on public property and the McCloskeys had no right to point guns at them. But you can clearly see in this photo from where they were standing, they were on private property. So that argument does not make sense. Which begs the question, why then did the prosecutor charge them? And I can tell you why, because she was politically motivated. Okay? Now, we all knew this. We all knew this for the longest time, that she was politically motivated. But now there's essentially, I don't want to say proof, but it's more than enough to put in question what her motives were. And this judge saw through it and disqualifies her from the case. So, let's take a look. A judge on Thursday cited improper fundraising emails by Circuit Attorney Kimberly M. Gardner's campaign in disqualifying Gardner and her office from a gun case against Mark McCloskey, who, with his wife, pointed firearms at protesters outside their Central West End home back in June. Circuit Judge Thomas Clark II order said two fundraising emails that Gardner's re-election campaign sent in response to political attacks before and after she charged Mark and Patricia with felony gun crimes in July raised the appearance that she, quote, initiated a criminal prosecution for political purposes. Quote, like a needle pulling thread, she links the defendant and his conduct to her critics. These emails are tailored to use the June 28th incident to solicit money by positioning her against defendant and her more vocal critics. Wow. The judge's order deals a political blow to Gardner, whose office has waged numerous legal challenges to defend her practices and reform-minded agenda during her first term. In a text message, Gardner's spokeswoman said that the attorney's office will review the court order and determine our options. So right here, even the judge, on like the most minuscule evidence, was able to see that the only reason this was being prosecuted was because of political reasons. And the reason she was doing it was entirely for political reasons. Otherwise, she'd still be on the case. But no, she was disqualified. That just goes to show you that, one, she wasn't following the law. Because if you were following the law, they had a right to do what they did. Two, we also had a case, I think it was 2 or 3 months ago, where the state actually tampered with evidence to make them seem more guilty by disassembling the handgun and switching the firing pin around. It was put in backwards on purpose because it was used in a court case that they had, because they're lawyers, to demonstrate something. So the gun was inoperable whenever she's pointing it at people, okay? So it was not readily available to do harm, which means it wouldn't qualify for the charges that were brought against them. But the people dealing with the evidence, the state decided to switch it around and make it able to be fired and readily available and then qualify, so then they charged them with that. And I believe they tried to charge them with tampering with evidence too. It's like, what? You guys are the ones that did that. So this entire local government here that's dealing with this case is so corrupt. I mean, it is ridiculous. Tampering with evidence, only prosecuting illegal use, defensive use of firearms for political purposes. They're just trying to shut down the Second Amendment. I'm sorry, that's all that's going on here. Okay, look, if they had shot somebody, then I would be like, okay, maybe you have a case because they weren't in their home and there was no like absolute threat. Okay, but they didn't shoot anybody. Nothing even happened. And nobody was arrested from the rioter side, so I don't want to hear it. Okay. The McCloskeys pleaded not guilty back in October to charges of unlawful. God, I hate these ads. Okay, charges of unlawful use of a weapon and evidence tampering. Evidence tampering related to the confrontation with protesters outside their home. Oh man, I'm sorry. The tampering with evidence. That was the state. That was you. The ones who charged them with all of this. How are you going to say they tampered with evidence when you guys are the ones that did? And we have documents that say that you did. Oh god, dude. This state. Man. The rioters were walking past en route to a demonstration blocks away outside the home of the mayor. The McCloskeys said they felt threatened by the group as they walked by. No. 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 The McCloskeys said they felt threatened as a group as they walked by. Yeah. By their front door. Okay? Because they were on their private property, man. What? Even in the interview that Mr. McCloskey gave, he said he didn't go and get his firearm until they were actually on his property. Like, had come through the gate onto his property, not out on the private drive. Man, so stupid. The couple was later indicted on charges they illegally brandished weapons at protesters and altered a pistol to make it appear that it was not functioning at the time. Okay, no. They said that they used it in a court proceeding, and that to get it through the court, to be able to use in the court proceeding of a case they were trying, they had to make the weapon inoperable. And guess what? That's easily verifiable because they had to go to court and present it as evidence. So, no, you guys tampered with evidence by turning it around and making it operable. No. So, okay, let's see. They sought to disqualify Gardner from the case, arguing that she exploited their case for political gain when her campaign mentioned them in fundraising emails weeks before the Democratic primary in August. And the judge agreed. Clark's order, which applies only to Mark W. case and not his wife's, also bars the rest of Gardner's office from prosecuting the case. Quote, this is a high-profile case receiving extensive media coverage, eliminating any possibility that an assistant circuit attorney is unaware of Mrs. Gardner's incipient interest in initial involvement and advocacy on this matter. State law directs the St. Louis Circuit Court's presiding judge to appoint another prosecutor in the case. So, yeah, I mean... I'm so glad that they got rid of this disgusting prosecutor. Like, I'm sorry, you're prosecuting them for no reason. I mean, I believe even the governor said that if they're charged, he's just gonna pardon them anyway. So, what's the point? What is the point of spending tax dollars on a case that is clearly self-defense and clearly within the bounds of the law? Due to castle doctrine and stand your ground laws and private property laws, and wasting taxpayer dollars on somebody who clearly is only doing it for political reasons. And then once you disqualify them, why are you going to go with another prosecutor who is going to try the case? Like, what's the point? If because even if you get a conviction, the governor said that he's just going to pardon them anyway. So I don't understand why this is even a thing. But at the very least, I'm glad that the politically motivated person that was trying this is gone, and now we can possibly get an impartial prosecutor that may take a look at this and go, "Hey, you know what? Honestly, I don't even know why this was here," or at least try the case in a fair manner. Okay, but I think it's good news, especially considering that all the facts put together. That man, I don't know. Like this is just an insane case, honestly. So anyway, guys, go ahead and drop your comments below. Give me your opinion. I want to know what you guys think. Do you think they should be prosecuted? Do you think that that it was right for the media to portray it as if these people were just on the public street when they were clearly in private property? Or do you guys think that that I'm correct in my assertions? Because quite honestly, from everything I just showed you guys, I gotta say, I think that I'm in the right. Anyway, guys, go ahead, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Please share this video, and I'll see you, believe next Monday. Yeah, next Monday, because I don't do stuff on weekends. Alrighty, guys, have a good one.